Fox News alert, the polls are officially closed in Florida's 1st District, where we're watching the race to replace former Congressman Matt Gaetz. A few minutes ago, the AP called the race for Florida's 6th District, Mike Waltz's seat, which the Republican candidate Randy Fine won easily. So if the Republican running for Gaetz's seat, Jimmy Patronis, wins his race as well, that's good news for the Trump agenda. And Republicans will keep their margin in the House, and we'll keep you posted. Well, Spartacus is back, and he shattered the filibuster record. The senator, my senator actually, hey Corey, has been speaking for over 25 straight hours, and no one can figure out what he wants.
Lift every voice and sing. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. You think we got civil rights because one day Strom Thurmond, after filibustering for 24 hours, you think we got civil rights because he came to the floor one day and said, I've seen the light. Let those Negro people have the right to vote. When is it going to be enough? My voice is inadequate. My efforts today are inadequate to stop what they're trying to do. But we, the people, are powerful. We are strong. We have changed history. If you love your neighbor, if you love this country, show your love.
While Spartacus was grandstanding and holding Washington hostage, his staffer got arrested for smuggling a gun into the Capitol. And the media didn't even care because Spartacus was on a roll. He was about to break Strom Thurmond's all-time record. Biden's segregationist buddy was filibustering the Civil Rights Act. What was Booker filibustering? We still don't know. Thun's trying to pass no tax on tips. I guess Booker really wants to tax those waitresses or waiters. So while Booker bloviates, the squad's training street soldiers.
Help me understand this idea of the resistance lab and what you're talking about in practical terms at these events.
Yeah, I mean, what we decided is that we really need to help Americans understand what happens when democracies fall, when dictators take over. We've developed a curriculum where we help people understand how do you go after the pillars of support, not necessarily the person at the top, but the pillars of support, also preparing them for the moments that will come of coordinated resistance, whether it's distributed action or mass action, that people need to be ready for.
Basic training includes mixing Molotov cocktails, proper car keying technique, TikTok video production, chanting, sign making, and how to grow a ponytail and brandish a cane. First, they were fighting for fraud, then for Muslim students who hate Jews. Now they're fighting for MS-13.
I call on my colleagues right now to call off the campaign to impeach federal judges for doing their jobs. I call on them to demand that the Trump administration comply with all judicial orders while appealing whichever ones they want to appeal, and to demand the return of people unlawfully taken to El Salvador on that so-called plane full of gangbangers.
Today, The Atlantic, the same outlet that accidentally broke Signalgate, came up with a real doozy. The Trump administration mistakenly deported a Maryland dad to a mega prison in El Salvador.
What they're actually doing is sweeping up people based upon their appearance. I think Americans, you're going to see, this is not what they signed up for. They don't want their friends and neighbors who are here legally swept up and then said, oops, we're sorry he's down in a deadly prison in El Salvador.
Are you friends with anybody in MS-13? Are your neighbors MS-13? I hope not, because if my neighbors were MS-13 and they got deported, I'd say, thanks, Homan. My family can walk the dog without being beheaded. The White House says this wasn't a mistake.
This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane, failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth.
Did the Democrats call an MS-13 ringleader a Maryland dad? I think they did. Mr. Kilmore Garcia snuck into this country under Barack Obama and was arrested in 2019. In a sweep of high-ranking members of MS-13. What was a Maryland dad doing hanging out with MS-13? Oh, I know, because he's a verified member of MS-13. That's what the Department of Homeland Security designated him as. The judge thought Garcia was so dangerous, he denied him bond because he was a flight risk. Primetime reached out to Homeland Security, and they said this: the individual in question is a member of the brutal MS-13 gang. We have intelligence reports that he is involved in human trafficking. Whether he is in El Salvador or a detention facility in the United States, he should be locked up. So the guy Democrats refer to as an innocent Maryland dad is actually a certified MS-13 gang member, illegal alien, and human trafficker. And he's not from Maryland. He's from El Salvador. It's like if I snuck south of the border and got arrested in Mexico City on gang charges, would Democrats call me a Mexico City dad? And just because you have a kid doesn't make you innocent. OJ had kids. Did Democrats call him a California dad? Actually, OJ was innocent, so maybe they did. You have foreign terrorists telling judges, my life's in danger if you deport me. Well, our lives are in danger if we don't deport you. And if you're a terrorist, life's dangerous wherever you are. You chose that life, and you have to live with it. And the administration's designated MS-13 as terrorists, so they don't get the kind of due process Democrats think they do. But lawyers are going to lawyer and rack up fees. I wonder if cartels have American lawyers on retainer to keep gang members from getting deported, because that's what it seems like. These lawyers keep leaking to the media that their clients are innocent, and the media just laps it up and prints it as fact. I've heard more about terrorists being denied due process than I ever heard about Lake and Riley. On the 5, Jessica's been telling me for weeks about a gay barber.
Time magazine was there when the gay barber from Venezuela who had a crown tattoo that said mom was being processed. The gay barber, we talked earlier in the week about the Venezuelan gay barber who is not in Tren de Aragua, who's in there.
Mr. Jose Romero was actually more of a makeup artist than a barber. As usual, Jessica was a little off. Here's Jose posing with makeup brushes. Would I let this guy do my makeup? No. Because here's this guy when he was arrested. He's Tren de Aragua, again, a Latin gang that Trump designated as a terrorist organization. When Jose rolls up his sleeves, he's got double crown tattoos on his wrists, a key indicator of gang membership. Homeland Security told Primetime, quote, DHS intelligence assessments determined he is a member of the vicious gang Tren de Aragua. DHS intelligence goes beyond a single tattoo, and we're confident in our findings. Do you trust Homeland Security intelligence agents who do this for a living, or Jessica Tarloff, who I love, but probably just read about this guy, Jose, in Time magazine? Primetime doesn't want to put innocent people in mega prisons. If there's a mistake, and we'll straighten it out. But the people who let 10 million migrants into this country and made 10 million mistakes, they've lost their right to chirp because their mistakes are deadly.
And an illegal alien who was released by the Biden administration into our country was just arrested in Georgia and charged with the horrific killing of Camelia Williams, a mother of 5 and grandmother. The suspect has now been indicted on charges of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, rape, aggravated sexual battery, and necrophilia, which for those who don't know, necrophilia is a sexual obsession with a corpse. This suspect was ordered to be removed in July 2023, but the Biden administration allowed him to stay.
Necrophilia. Democrats are going to go to bat for savages like that? Sick. Biden caught and released these freaks, let them prey on us in sanctuary cities, gave them all lawyers and hotel rooms, and then lied about it. Here's what a border chief said just a few months back.
I had to release illegal aliens by the hundreds each day into communities who could not support them. To quiet the problem, 2 flights a week were provided from San Diego to Texas. These flights simply brought aliens that would have been released in San Diego over to Texas. Each flight cost approximately $150,000. This was the administration's way to try and quiet the border-wide crisis. Through pressure from the administration, my headquarters became more interested in the fiction that being portrayed in the media and not at all concerned with reality. Each time we asked for help in dealing with a new issue, it fell on deaf ears. At times in San Diego, we had 2,000 or more aliens sitting in between the fences, asking to turn themselves in. I was told to move them out of the sight of the media.
We spent 4 years sweeping this invasion under the rug. And now Democrats and activist judges are trying to stop us from sweeping them out of the country. These politicians pretend to have empathy, but what about empathy for us?
I'm one of the many victims across the nation of the violent transnational gang, Agua, and a former lifelong Democrat. We watched in horror as a few apartments full of migrant families quickly evolved into large groups of gun-toting, military-aged males. Open-air drug use, drug dealers, and seemingly underage prostitutes filled the common areas of the buildings. A young man, who I called my friend, was mortally wounded outside my apartment during a firestorm of bullets, causing thousands of dollars in damages to cars and surrounding properties by 6 gunmen later identified as Agua.
If someone allows wolves into our chicken coop and there's a bloodbath, they don't get to grumble about how I get rid of the wolves. Oh, that wolf you rounded up, maybe it's not a wolf. Well, it's got my chicken in between its teeth. It's a wolf, and we're getting it out of here. Now they're saying, of course, it's racist to deport terrorists.
One of my premises for the book is that every law passed before the 1965 Voting Rights Act should be presumptively unconstitutional, right? But because before the 1965 Voting Rights Act, we were functionally an apartheid country. Yeah. Not everybody who lived here could vote here. So why should I give about some law that some old white man passed in the 1920s?
Old white men passed the 22nd Amendment, so if we get rid of that, Trump can run again. A majority of the country backs mass deportations. During the Iranian hostage crisis, Jimmy Carter deported thousands of Iranians. This was done on the basis of national security. What Democrats today are saying makes Jimmy Carter a racist dictator. So if Democrats want to defend the indefensible, be my guest. Have at it. Let's see how far it gets you. Oh, and let's check in on Booker one last time. He's done. He ended at 8:05. That's the record. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.